Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Professor Muchler, everybody else. Um, my name is Joseph Culotta,
I'm Richard Przybylinski III,
and we're both freshmen in EC 120 class.
CSSE.
CSC 120, did I say EC?
Mm-hmm.
CSC 120 class with Dr. Muchler. This is our Python Pygame um, game project.
It's called Blackjack.
Yeah, we did Blackjack, and we were able to do it with everything minus doubling and splitting, which are more advanced features of the game that most people don't. Um, so
So, basically, how the game runs. Run it very quick. Run main. We love main. So, if you can read the instructions here, press R to restart. Press the up arrow to hit, which gives you another card. Press the down arrow to stay, which uh, makes the dealer draw cards until he reaches 17. Oh, he has to stop at 17 from drawing cards, and press any numbers to bet 10 times it. So if you press 1, you're going to bet 10, 2, 20, so on, all the way to 90. So we can show you an example. So let me bet 90. Player has 13, dealer shows 3, book says to hit. Stay on this. And if you press restart, you just stay the same, subtract the amount of money you bet.
and as a general rule for blackjack, it is essentially whoever wins, either the player or the dealer, whoever has the higher count up to 21. If it's over 21, you bust, which essentially means you lose, and dealer beats you, you also lose, and then if you beat the dealer, you win. And in this case, you get your bet back times 2.
We can show if you win, that you get the 20.
We also have visuals that we have put into this to show when you win or lose, as well as displaying your total that you placed for that round.
So that's basically the demo of our game. Let's move on to the classes. So I worked on the player class mainly, the dealer class, the scoreboard class, and that's about it for me.
I worked mostly on the controller class, the game class, a little bit on the player and dealer classes, and the view and card classes. And this combined effort allowed us to do a lot of calling of functions from these classes and setting variables, especially for the betting feature, as well as for retrieving cards from the deck randomly through a shuffle and through a sequence. We were also able to achieve features such as hiding the cards from the player's view before, so that it doesn't affect their thinking as far as like, okay, if I have good cards already, then I'm just going to bet the highest that I can so that I know that I probably have a good chance of getting that back. Essentially, how we did that was through the dealer. Basically, you have to wait for this flip function to be called, and a lot of this like waiting for things to happen and like those events happen in the controller class because we were able to make it set up so that when a button is pressed, it goes through certain motions. Most of these were essentially copies of each other in the sense that it would make the bet a certain amount, it would draw the bet on the screen, and then it would flip the player's cards so that essentially the game is set and ready for the player to either hit or stay. And then we also had buttons for the hit button, which is the up arrow, stay button, which is the down arrow, and restart, which is the R letter.
So for most of the centrals, it was basically a mixed effort, waiting for one person in the group to get down with, say, initializing the deck of lists, like all the cards on the list. And then all of a sudden, I have to go to the dealer after that and make him player 2 cards and the dealer himself 2 cards. And the random cards for every time was up to Joey.
And a lot of the placement of these visuals and the cards and everything that we used on the screen came down to trial and error, and as well as what visually looked appealing and what made it look like a real game of sorts.
And once we finally have everything working, we went to what we could add more basically to the game, like an example scoreboard, which will display your bet.
Yeah, we used scoreboard largely as a initialization of the bet, and then the bet was then controlled by the controller class based on which number was pressed. Some other add-ons that we did were, again, the flipping of the cards. That is essentially how it is truly played. However, we didn't originally have that because it wasn't really essential to the actual game itself. The win and lose visuals were something that took us a little while to complete, and we think it adds a little bit more character to the game. And then the betting as a whole was a optional feature that we think just gives it more of a risk versus reward scenario and adds more complexity for the player in general.
I believe our grade should be most likely an 8
right.
because of the intellectual academic challenges that we face, especially for the betting after we get the game to work, because a lot of it was trial and error as seen. And if self.game lose is true and self.ead is false, that took a lot of figuring out, since the first code we implemented would make so if you won, it'll multiply the first bet multiple times nonstop. So we had to figure out a way to stop it when you first win. And I believe even getting the cards that to show up be random every time was a challenge as well.
I would agree. I believe that this project would deserve an A grade. The biggest thing that the biggest factor of that for me is throughout this whole process, we had a lot of struggles trying to figure out which variables and which functions should be called and to which classes and which sections of our code. A lot of things ended up in controller and game, for example, that we maybe thought was going to be a player feature, which is initialized in player still, but is called in the other two. And that was something that we had to work with, get comfortable with doing.
It's our Blackjack project.
It was our Blackjack project.